All right, Donnie, we're rolling.
Okay, good.
Okay, so let's start. The first thing I want to ask you is, you've been in real estate a long time now, and you've been successful in this business for a long time. What do you attribute this success to?
Well, Joe, before I answer that question, I guess I want to congratulate you on your achievement for the marketing award this year.
Thank you.
You're a good salesman. You can make things happen. No one on this planet could have gotten me here today to do this interview if they didn't have that talent. So I'm here because of you, and that's proof in the pudding right there. Buddy.
Donnie, I appreciate it.
Yeah, honestly. But I think
I really
I think this it's a crazy business because it's so different from anything else that I've experienced in my lifetime. Looking back, this is a business where all of the people that you're working with, like your counterparts, are all competitors.
Right.
We're all competitors, and it's important, so important that we all get along, respect each other's work. Everyone works differently. Right. Because you never know when you're going to be sitting across the table trying to put a deal together. And so you make an extra effort, I think, to get along with all of your competitors. Yeah. And I think you do a good job of that with rounding up everyone on these Thursday inspection.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're giving, one of the things that we've lost, I think, over the last few years is that personal touch.
Yes, I agree.
You know, we got, everything is on a system, everything's on a computer. And technology is wonderful when it works. When it doesn't work, most of us just freeze up and don't know what to do. Right. But the fact of the matter is, you lose that personal touch. And it's so important when you can put a face to a voice. Yes. When you've had coffee with someone and the next thing you're doing is trying to put a difficult deal together, that you can relate to one another, respect each other, trust each other. Yes. And be able to put a deal together. Because the bottom line is, it's all about making money. You're trying to make a living. And I think the biggest thing that helped me at the very beginning was an old real estate veteran at the time. I forget who it was. Mm-hmm. He just told me right out front, you know, this business has got nothing to do about selling houses. And I was kind of, well, you know, what am I doing all this for? All these courses that I'm barely passing and so on. He says, no, it's all about selling yourself. You sell yourself, and people trust you, and people they gravitate towards you. Yeah. They want to deal with you. Yeah. The rest happens. So you know, if you say, you know, what is the success? I think that's having that for a foundation is a big part of it.
And that's a part of my foundation that you taught me.
Well, I don't know if I taught you, but you know. You
did for sure, because that's something I tell people. I just told somebody that yesterday.
Did you know?
Yeah, I told them the exact same thing. That if this business was any more difficult, I wouldn't be able to survive, because it comes down to I've never sold a house, and no, I guess I'm selling myself, but
you are. Yeah, you are, and all the different things that I do. The marketing is right up there on top, because a lot of folks in this business are getting to know you. Mm-hmm. Haven't really done a deal with you yet. Want to meet you because of what they see. Right. Some of them can't believe what they see or hear. But a lot of it is about making yourself known out there. So automatically when someone is thinking of selling their house, or a salesperson is looking to do a deal, and they have a choice sometimes between 2 or 3 listings that their people might be interested in, they might be looking more forward towards doing a deal with you. Right. And might be pushing the house that you've got listed, kind of thing. Very true. There's an awful lot to do with that part of it. And I think that's just, it's a natural thing. Everybody, in my experience, works differently. And
I agree.
there's a lot of ways that folks in this business work that I don't particularly agree with. But that doesn't mean to say that it's wrong.
Right.
I do things my way because I'm more comfortable doing them that way.
Yeah.
A lot of folks would never do what I do the way I do, but then I do it because I'm comfortable doing it that way.
And you're very thorough.
Attention to detail is so important.
Yeah.
Because folks put their trust in you. You're doing this. You're in the front lines. You're doing this stuff every day. You're got all the bumps and bruises from all the mistakes that you've made, and I've got a trail behind me just like everybody else. And I think you got to learn from them mistakes.
Yeah.
And just move on. And you have to, I think, be humble and know that you never really stop learning, because this business is changing so much.
I agree.
And it's back when I started, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have computers. I mean, it was just next to that. We just got rid of the horse and buggy days, it seems. And here we are, all of a sudden. We used to wait every 2 weeks or so, we'd get a catalog, and it would have all the listings in it for the homes that were for sale.
And what year did you start in the business?
It's 25 years ago.
So I'd be like 90 in the late 90s.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it was at that time we had around 1,000 people in the MLS board, but it was
really?
But we were the Welland Real Estate Board. We weren't the Niagara District Real Estate Board. There was a St. Catharines Real Estate Board, Niagara Falls, and a Welland Board. And we
really.
So when we did these caravans every Thursday, the caravan was a big thing then, because we didn't have computers. We had an opportunity to get out and see houses. We used to meet in Welland at the Welland Real Estate office, where we had a board office.
Where was that?
It was on Main Street, right East Main Street.
Right
across the street from. There's a bakery there now. Oh boy. Can't think of the name of the bakery.
That's all right.
But it's and we used to meet there. We'd all get in one another's cars, and we'd go out. We'd see 10 places was the maximum.
Right.
And then so you had a good chance to actually see what was out there, and a good chance to meet your fellow realtors and interact with them.
That's
go for
awesome.
Coffee afterwards.
That's awesome.
That stopped once we became the Niagara Real Estate Board, when they amalgamated the St. Catharines Board, the Niagara Falls Board, and the Welland Board all into one.
Right.
And made the office in St. Catharines where it is today. Then we didn't have that local private touch anymore. And the whole idea of that whole amalgamation was that it was going to be an improvement for all of us, because we had, central communication there. And of course, like anything else, people resist change.
Right.
And so there was a lot of stuff going on the battlefront as to why we shouldn't do these things.
Right.
And we got through that change and ultimately settled in. But in the process, we did lose that little neighborhood kind of touch thing. We didn't, and we did try to keep the caravan going for a while after that. But we didn't have the computer stuff, so we had things set up where we would meet for the locals. We would meet at a Tim Hortons in town,
right,
and then go out and look. And that stopped once we got into that really crazy real estate boom a few years back.
Right.
Houses were selling so fast. If you put it on a caravan, it'd be sold by the time a caravan came along.
Right.
So we just stopped doing it.
Right.
And then it stayed that way right up until the time you resurrected it again.
Yeah.
But the big thing about what you're doing, I think, is that you're bringing people together.
Yes.
And people have an opportunity to meet. Again, this commercialism, the computers, people don't talk to each other anymore. It's all done online.
Yeah, text message, email.
Yeah, and you lose so much. Even to the point where we used to do our real estate courses, like every 2 years we used to have to sign in and register for certain courses, and we paid for the courses, and they were maybe morning sessions. We'd go down to the Legion, we'd have an instructor, and you'd have to swipe your card in and swipe your card out to show that you came, and that you left on time, that you didn't leave early.
Yeah,
full credits for those courses.
Right.
It was a great opportunity because you had a speaker there that was, and you had an opportunity to listen to what he or she had to say. But also the big part of it was you could ask questions, and maybe there was a question that you didn't particularly think about asking, that somebody else in the room would ask, and as a result, you've learned from that.
Right.
The other thing is you got a chance to intermingle with your coworkers.
Yeah,
again.
Which is very important.
So you sat at the table with them, and you were putting a name to a face. They stopped that. Now they go online and do their courses.
Yeah.
And it's so cold and impersonal, and it's to the point where like anybody else could sit down and do the course for you.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It seems like it's all about cost cutting and money, but you lose so much because now we have a group of people, particularly the new folks coming in, don't really know what it was like to be able to interact. And I think the biggest problem we've got with real estate people today, the newer ones, is the communication level.
Right.
Like, folks don't, we're all busy.
Yeah.
Don't return calls. They don't give you the feedback. Many times the computer's done all the work and set up the appointment. They don't even know that you've been there at the house.
Yeah.
When you call and say, I can't get in because the lockbox don't work, they say, well, who are you and what are you doing there?
Who are you?
And that's the problem because we depend so much on it.
Right.
And this stuff's not supposed to be doing our job. It's supposed to be the tool that we use to do our job better.
Right.
And it just doesn't fit. So that's kind of like the challenge that we've got today, I think. And it's it's not fair to the people that trust you by putting their listing in your hands.
Yes.
Like these folks aren't aware of all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
The back end.
The problems that you have, the difficulties that they could get themselves into if they don't do certain things. And it's our job, our responsibility to make sure that they are aware of that. It's all about communication.
100%.
And boy, oh boy, it's tough sometimes to find out that a lot of folks really don't know what's going on.
A lot of people think we put up a sign, put up the sold sign, cash a check.
But this is the thing. It's interesting, but there's a general understanding out there. It seems that folks think that we go to list a house, we sign on a dotted line, put up the sign, go play golf, and then when it sells, collect your 6%.
It's that
pay all
easy.
that money. It's that easy. If you watch these TV shows, it's certainly that easy.
That's right.
It's like, whoa, if that's how easy it was, why aren't we doing it that way?
Yeah.
And, and the unfortunate part of that, I think, is that you can understand where the general public is not aware of really what we do, the liabilities and responsibilities that we have.
Yeah.
You can understand that because they're not into it.
Right.
But what's really sad is there's a lot of real estate people, brand new real estate people, that come into the business thinking that that's the way it works.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a rude awakening when they find out, holy cow, I got to get up and go into work in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's a job, and you're making commitment, and there's people that depend on you, and there's big money involved.
Yes.
So yeah, I find that's one of the biggest problems we face today is a lack of communication.
I agree 1,000,000%.
And respecting each other's positions. Like, when you're asked for feedback, give the feedback.
Yeah.
Because the person who's listed their home is expecting to hear from you.
Yes.
And if you don't give them the feedback, then it's like, well, you're negligent. How often we used to hear when I'd go to list a house and say, well, so-and-so you had it listed before with so and so, or so and so sold you the house. Why are you calling me?
Right.
Say, well, yeah, but they listed the house, and then we haven't heard from him in 2 months. Well, yeah.
Right.
And that's such a common sense, normal thing that you should be doing, is keeping in touch with your people, letting them know what's going on.
100%.
It's just about common sense.
100%.
And that's lacking. It's really lacking.
Yeah. And I can see the challenge too. When I started, one of the toughest things when I started, the market was different than now. Yes. Even though it's not like it was on fire not too long ago. But in the buyer's market, when you go months without a showing,
yes,
that's hard to call up your vendor when the only feedback you have is, we haven't sold yet.
Yeah, nobody wants to see your house.
Yeah. Actually, Donnie, maybe if I'm not 100% on the microphone, maybe if you can come a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be good. Just to be safe.
Yeah, no problem. Well, what has changed, though, is also the way we do business. When I started, you would have folks calling saying, this is the kind of house or the kind of property that I want to buy. So it was on our shoulders to look in this book.
Yeah, what is this book here?
And this book is a publication of all the listings of the day. It's divided from, commercial, multifamily, residential, townhouses, and it's got a picture of the listing with the price and the agents, so on. So we would have to look through the book and pick out houses to show you that fit what you've told us you want.
Right.
And so we'd line up 2 or 3 different houses, and then we would show them to you. Now, the way we would do that is, for the most part, we didn't have much lock boxes back then.
Right.
So I'd line up, maybe I'd have 5 homes to show a client on a morning, and we'd turn around and we'd have, that's the new baby there.
Yeah.
Well, we'd turn around and say, we'd line up some homes in St. Catharines and Thorold to show, and we'd get confirmed.
Right.
And it would say, pick up the key at the office. So if you got 5 houses, sometimes you'd have to make 5 different trips to 5 different real estate offices.
Wow.
The office that has the listing, to pick up the key.
Wow.
Then you'd go and show the house. Then after you've shown the house and you're finished with your people, you have to remember to go back to each one of these real estate offices to return the key.
Wow.
And so it was a much longer.
Yeah, the day was long.
If you we had pagers on us, and it would be like a page message. It would be to call so and so. If you were having a problem, or if you were involved at the same time that you were doing these 5 showings, you got a page message that call so and so, important because you might be in the middle of another deal going on.
Right.
You had to go someplace where there was a bloody payphone. I had a whole jar full of quarters in the car.
That's
so you're looking for a payphone because you got to make this call. It's urgent. Or maybe you'll get into one of these houses you're showing and be able to use their phone.
Right.
So like another inconvenience, another thing that slowed things down. How many times we get into a situation where you got so much going on, you'd forget to bring one of those keys back.
Oh,
now
man.
You've got an agent waiting at the office, gone to get the key because there's a second showing, and you've got the key in your pocket. Now you have to stop everything and get that key
Get it back.
Yeah. So those are the kinds of things that we dealt with every day. And when you look at the way things have streamlined today people don't necessarily give you what they want, although that's its starting point.
Right.
They normally say they've already seen the house online.
Yes.
They've seen pictures of it. They've
Yes.
driven by it. They want you to show that particular house.
Right.
So it's a
role has
reverse.
changed,
Yes. And the general public are more familiar with what is out there.
Yeah.
They're more familiar with what prices are out there because they can see it online every day. And just the general, because there's so much competition in the business today, with all these discount real estate companies and
Right.
with people wanting to negotiate commissions and
Right.
that kind of thing. There's so much more awareness out there, or misunderstandings out there about how it works. So in addition to just selling yourself and trying to get a deal going on the home, you're dealing with all these other issues that in the past you really never had to deal with.
Yeah.
Not to that extent. I mean, they were there, but not to that extent.
Right.
The amount of paperwork, like Mike, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, what was that like when you started?
A listing was, everything was legal size paper,
Right.
and it was carbon copy.
Right.
So
Carbon copy.
Carbon copy of the listing, but it was like 1 or 2 pieces of paper that you had to press hard,
Right.
and then the copy of the actual listing ended up going to your broker and then ended up being delivered to the board office.
Physically delivered.
Where it was all recorded to be put into this book.
Right.
So
Wow.
it was like a courier service, or you were bringing all this stuff manually. You're depending on a mail service to do it. So you can see where it seems so antiquated now, but it was only like you sat down with your people and there was a couple of pieces of paper that you signed. Now, by the time you go through the FinTrack stuff and the ID stuff and who's representing whose stuff, and
Right.
we ended up going from 2 pieces of paper to 37 pages to go through. And
Right.
most of your people are standing there looking at you with a daze in their eyes, not understanding, what you're going through.
I know.
And it's very hard to make sure that they really understand some of the real important points.
Right. Because there's a lot for us to go over. Lots.
Yes, there's an awful lot.
Yeah.
And some people say, look, I trust you, I'm signing my life away here, I'm trusting you.
Right.
And then there are people that want to read every word, and you're sitting there for the whole morning because you got to read
hours.
to go through it.
I find that too when I'm going over it with clients. So there's so much of the paperwork, I can see that their eyes glaze over at a period after a period of time. And most of them at some point say, "Joe, we trust you."
Yes.
And it's few and far between, but I get some too. Every single word must be gone over, but there is so much.
Yes, it is, and it's intimidating.
Yeah.
And people throw this paper in front of you, sign here, initial there, like it's, geez, all I want to do is sell my house, and then of course it's the ID, and it's understanding, I think, too, not only how the process works, and maybe taking the time out to explain to your person, whether it's a vendor or it's a buyer,
Right.
how the process works. Like I like to, instead of just talking about the house and the deal and the pricing and all the rest of it, initially when you get started with them, explain what's going to happen.
Right.
This is what we have to do. This is why we have to do it. This is what you're responsible for. You're listing your house, but you're responsible for telling me if there's anything that's gone wrong in here, when it happened, is it fixed, is it warranted?
Yes.
Because even if something happened 5 years ago, you got to let me know that it happened 5 years ago and you haven't had the problem since, because you're not disclosing it if you haven't done that.
Yeah.
And then it can come back to haunt you.
Exactly. Like a leaky basement.
A leaky basement, or a death in the home.
Right.
Or a roof problem, or a sewer problem.
Yes.
Or, things that you maybe wouldn't be aware of having to disclose.
Yeah.
It's our job to make sure that you're aware that you got to disclose.
Right.
So we're having that conversation.
Right.
So that you have a shared responsibility. You turn around and you have an offer on a house and everything's all great and it's subject to a home inspection, and all of a sudden the home inspector comes up with a problem that you never knew you had.
Right.
You're totally innocent of that.
Yeah.
And you couldn't come to an agreement with your buyer, so he cuts you loose. Now that you know about it, you have to disclose it to everybody else coming along.
Exactly.
So you realize that you have to do that now. So maybe you deal with the offer at hand and negotiate something better.
Get through it now.
Get through it now.
Yes.
A lot of folks don't realize that till after they let them go. So, well, that's their opinion. Well, it's not their opinion. It's the problem that we have.
Now it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it becomes your problem. And it's that kind of communication that you have to encourage, but you're always kind of looking over your shoulder, wondering whether the guy before you has done that. And, you feel responsible to your people in a big way.
Yeah.
I take it too personal sometimes.
I go into a lot of it just pretty much assuming it hasn't been done.
Yes.
It's a lot safer.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But you got to, you're on a hook for so much information these days that you got to make sure that you're communicating good with the people that you're working with. And that's where all this trust stuff comes in,
Yes.
Better to walk away from a deal or even a listing if you think that it's not right.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
This is going back to how you said you're selling yourself in this business. I find a lot of people have a hard time trusting us. Salespeople, realtors don't have the greatest rep.
Oh, so true. And some of the characters you end up working with, you can understand why.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's okay. You got to give them credit for that.
Yeah.
But it is true. You know, and it does boil down to that. And I find sometimes when I'm doing a listing presentation, especially if it's an estate,
right
now you've got 2 or 3 family members, and they're all get their power of attorney. So, and they all kind of look at you as if, boy, you're maybe one of these old-fashioned used car salesmen from the past. Just don't say nothing and get it done.
Yeah.
And how much do you charge? And what do you do? And they kind of look at you with an evil eye.
100%.
And so you're there, and instead of you selling, your marketing, you're really again selling yourself. You're being interviewed.
Yes.
We
get interviewed regularly.
And then, you can leave there thinking, well, you did an okay job, only to find out that Joe Blow down the street got the listing because they didn't like something about what you did or said.
Now, one of the biggest challenges I find today when I'm competing for listings is when I lose, the 2 biggest reasons I find I lose is somebody will do it for less commission.
Yep.
And also that the other realtors recommended a higher price. These are probably the 2 biggest. Has it been like this always?
Always.
That's always been the challenge.
A standard. That's an industry standard. Because everyone feels that their house is worth more.
Yes.
I mean, and I say everyone, the vast majority.
Yeah, it's a common amongst sellers.
When they list it, it's going to sell right away, so they don't want to bother with that. One of the things that I find that is very unfortunate, I guess, is when it comes down to the commission thing. Because what people are interested in basically is getting the best buck out of their house at the best price. And of course our commission is their price.
Right.
So you see all of this stuff about we'll do it for 1% or we'll do it for a cut. And what they don't tell the
public or
the
vendor.
public or the vendor the whole story.
Very true.
And so when I go ahead and talk to them, I usually bring a copy of a listing with me, and I'll show our paychecks are shown on the MLS system. So if you're paying 2 points or 2.5 points, it shows that.
Yes.
So a realtor that pulls up your listing to show your house can immediately look down and see what his paycheck is. And if he's going to drive all the way from Toronto or Hamilton to bring buyers down here to buy your house, he's going to see what his paycheck is.
Yes.
Now you'll get the realtor that'll say, I'll do it for 4%. And what he does is he keeps 3 and he offers 1%.
Right.
And he publishes it on the MLS system.
Yeah.
But you don't know that.
Vendors don't know.
And you don't know that. Why isn't people coming to see it? Like, why aren't they coming? And you'll say, well, look at, he needs to tell you that he'll do it for 4%. But if you put it on the MLS system, because you want the best exposure,
100%.
he's going to offer less than anybody else. Maybe he'll offer nothing.
Yes.
And that'll mean that these other people are not going to bring you buyers. I mean, if they got a chance to go and they work on commissions, so they'll look what their paycheck is and they'll work accordingly.
Yeah.
So, and many of them, I shouldn't say many, I would say 100% of the people that I talk to when I get into this conversation never knew that.
No.
We're never told that.
Never. Same thing here, Don.
So, like, it's not fair. It's not right.
Yeah.
And these people should be taken to task. They should say, this is what we do, this is what we offer, this is how it works.
Yeah.
And, of course, commissions can be negotiable. And I tell people that.
Yeah.
You never let commissions get in the way of a sale.
Right.
Like, the time to negotiate a commission is when you got somebody that's chomping at the bit that really wants your house.
Right.
You get an offer on a table, and you've come to a stalemate. Maybe there's something you can do with that commission.
Right. Let's
Put
keep
it
working
together.
there. Yeah.
Then you negotiate. You
Right.
don't negotiate before you even know, what price you're going to put on
Exactly.
your house.
There's so many
'Cause
things.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah. I heard something interesting I've never even thought about the other day on the caravan. Somebody brought up that they think that it should be publicized, not just what we're offering commission, but what we're taking. And I thought that was an interesting point. I don't know how I feel about it, but imagine that, because now
Well,
would that complicate or make it better?
I think it's a combination of.
Right.
I don't think it would complicate as much as it would help,
Right.
because when I usually tell folks, when you're trusting me with this responsibility,
A very big
so
one.
I'm going to do everything I can to let people know that your house is for sale.
Right.
I can't guarantee that I'll sell it, but I'll guarantee that I'll do everything that I can.
Yeah.
One of the things,
And
I'm
when you
going to
say
do-
it, you mean it too.
yeah, and it's
Not like a lot of people, well, other people.
no. Well, you prove it. You got to be able to back up what you say with your actions on
Right.
the road. Or people are wise; they'll get wise to you. You say, one of the things that we do is in this business, it costs money. We're independent agents, so I will turn around, and even though we've got the internet and we've got all these public sites, Realtor.ca.
Mm-hmm.
We still have these newspaper flyers, and we have these flyers coming out of Toronto, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Welland-Port Colborne,
Yeah.
and it costs money to put ads into these flyers, color
Right.
pictures of your house. Now, believe it or not, it's an older way of advertising, and it's not used the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been my experience that an awful lot of people that have the money, the older generation,
Right.
they have the money.
Yeah.
They don't know how to put a computer on. They don't
Right.
know where to look. They come into the office looking for these flyers.
Right.
They got the money.
Yeah.
So I put them in the flyers. You'll have an advertisement every week. You'll be told what flyer that it's in. But it costs me $50, $80, $100 every week.
Each. Yeah.
So it costs me money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having it online is great too.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a combination of both.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of the people that are looking today, or maybe not the majority now, but maybe 50%, 40%, depend on the flyers.
Yeah. And they're the ones with the
And
money.
they're the ones with the money.
Yeah.
Now, so I pointed out, so it costs money to do that. So at any time you want to know where it's advertised, I'll give you a copy of the ad, and I'll be able to tell you every single week until it's sold. We'll put a sign up, and then I tell them the different places that I will spend money to let people know that your house is for sale. And I say, so part of it comes, I'm an independent agent. Century 21 don't pay for that stuff.
No, which I thought they did when I started.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
So I have to pay for that stuff. So if you want that, I will do that. And I'm doing it at a cost that eventually, it's endless.
Yes.
It's an endless commitment.
Yes.
So if you want to have that, that's what I'm offering you. I do that. So when I have a commission, if I take a quarter point more or a half point more, it goes towards that.
Towards the marketing.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, but I still want to offer the same or sometimes even a little better as an incentive on the actual MLS listing. If you're going to offer 0 or 1%, why put it on the MLS?
Yeah.
Keep the money. Advertise yourself in the paper
Right.
and sell it yourself.
Right.
You'll be way farther ahead.
Right.
So that's the approach that I take. And in many cases, you'll have folks sitting there looking at you dumbfounded.
Yeah.
I have no idea. They think that these ads automatically just happen.
Yeah, they
you
appear
know.
free,
Yes.
no cost.
Yes.
See, we're just pulling back to one thing, talking about realtors that will take listings at 4 and offer less or none. This has been a challenging thing for me to explain to people, because when a vendor hears 4% instead of 5 or 6, they think they're getting a better deal.
That's right.
And it's hard to explain to them that situations like this come up where the person taking at 4, to me, a lot of times, like what we're talking about, their goal is to double end the property and get the whole 4, because they're not even going to offer out the prevailing rate.
That's right.
So the client thinks, oh, I'm getting a deal because I'm getting it at 4%. But what is actually happening on the back end is a realtor's just doing anything they can to get the full commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but if you show them on the
Right.
listing, circle it and say this is the paycheck that's being offered.
Yeah.
Bring a couple words, show 0,
Yes.
1 cent.
Yeah, 1 cent.
And that Toronto buyer is going to bring that guy down here with a bag full of money to get that 1 cent? I don't think so.
Exactly.
So you got to explain this to people. you know.
Yeah.
And it's an education thing, but it you have to, I don't know, tell people what you would want to hear. If you were selling your house and you didn't know, and you're
Yes.
trusting somebody, like, tell me about this stuff because I don't know what to do. Like, it's just too common where it's thought, well, geez, it's so easy. It's, we sold it privately. I had a situation where there's many things that have happened, but this one particular thing stays in mind, where this older couple, like that I had sold the house to, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, suddenly the lady passed away, and he was going to be moving in with his kids, and he was converting the garage into a granny suite for himself.
Right.
And he had this person that was going to buy his house. So first he talked to me about listing it, and I gave him the spiel. And he says, oh, he's got this somebody that might... And I said to him, if you do, that's fine. Let me know if you get an offer. I'll be happy to look it over to make sure you're not getting in any trouble.
That's
and
nice.
No charge. Like, I'll do that for you. You're an old customer. Well, he did sell it privately, but he didn't call me to look over anything.
Boy.
He just went ahead. So as it turns out, he goes ahead, and it was like a 3-month closing thing. So he goes ahead and he gets the permit, gets the granny suite thing all done up, goes through all the red tape with the city to get it done and stuff. The closing date, the deal doesn't close. Well, the deal doesn't close because the offer that he had was conditional on another house selling, and the other house didn't sell. He thought he sold his house.
He thought it was sold.
So he thought he sold his house.
Yeah.
So common where this kind of thing happens. And, unfortunately, it goes to a lawyer's office. Now, a lawyer checks out all of the liens and stuff against the property and has a checklist that they work to.
Right.
But they haven't seen the house. And they're not necessarily representing you in the sale of the house.
Right.
And if you don't talk to them about, here's the offer and I'm concerned about this or that, it could be the last day when they're looking at the paperwork and I still need this piece of paper and call him and he's thinking, what piece of paper? I don't know nothing about that.
Right.
Call the buyer and the buyer doesn't know.
No idea.
I haven't sold my house yet.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that people get themselves into. And it was really sad. It was a mess.
And that's bringing that up with Comfrey or Purple Bricks now. This is something, these kind of commission, low commission, no commission, have these been around since when you started?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, the only thing that Purple Bricks now has got a little different approach, and it's almost at par to what we're doing. The old discount realtors offering 1% and different packages. They come and they go. With Purple Bricks, unfortunately, their advertising, where the majority of what I see coming on a system is still offering a selling agent 2% plus HST. So the guy listing his house with Purple Bricks still has to do all the work and all the advertisements and that kind of stuff.
The showings.
And his showings, and he's got to do all that. However, by registering it on the MLS and paying Purple Bricks to do that, he's offering the same thing that all of us are offering. So you can go ahead and now you can show a Purple Bricks property and not have to beg to get a paycheck. You're going to get your 2 points.
Right.
Whereas under ComFree, you had to call the guy first and say, are you willing to pay me if I bring you somebody?
Right. Sometimes
they'd say no. Sometimes they would say okay. So it's a little different because now we've got a bigger challenge there. The problem that I see is that with our real estate board and these rules and regulations that we have to follow, it's not a level playing field.
Right.
And the problems that occur are not something we don't really have a handle on and we're victims of. Like, for example, there's a code of ethics attached to our advertising. We're not allowed to advertise in a certain way. They call it buffing. You can say things in a certain way to let people think of one thing when it's really not that way.
Like in-law suites.
Things
like this.
So we have to be a little more clear, and if somebody complains, we can be taken to task.
Yeah.
We end up, ahead of the board and
in front of Real Estate Council of Ontario.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, like an outfit like Purple Bricks can get away with this kind of advertising.
Right.
And not be taken to task.
They do.
Because they say, you'll see on the TV and you'll see on a general thing about no commission, not paying thousands in commission. They make it look to the public like it's free.
Yeah.
It's not free.
No.
They should have to say no commission, but there is a charge.
Yes.
And we have a series of charges that you can pick from.
And pay up front.
And pay up front whether you
sell or not.
There should be rules that say if you're going to be in the real estate business and you're going to hook on to the MLS system, which the rest of them work to, you have to advertise in the same way. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
They also give out all these extra signs with the arrows on it. So you get somebody with Purple Bricks and you got in every street corner, you got a sign with an arrow showing there's a house for sale. The bylaws say you can't do that.
Right.
We are not allowed to do that.
Right.
Doesn't it click in anyone's mind to say all these houses that are for sale, why aren't there signs with arrows pointing down those streets?
Arrows throughout the whole region.
Do it. Yeah. But Purple Bricks can sell you the sign, you give them the money, and they don't have the responsibility to tell you can't use that sign. Right. It's against the bylaw.
Right.
They should be taken to task, but they're not.
They skirt it. They're skirting around it.
That's the problem, because they're allowed to do it.
Right.
We're not.
Right.
And that's just one thing. This lockbox that we've got here in front of us is another. It's a wonderful thing. It's technology, and when it works great.
Right.
The problem that we have with it is that as realtors, it's mandatory for us to use them. And we have a penalty attached if we don't use them. Okay, that's what our board has set up. The unfortunate part of it stops there.
Right.
If I'm a real estate company coming in out of Hamilton and Toronto, and there's many of them that now do, they come down and they list properties down here. They're not held to the same rules.
Right.
They can put any box on that they want.
Yeah.
So the problem is, how can they do it and we can't? How can we get fined? And so there's no rules and there's nothing in place.
Right.
So again, it's not a level playing field.
It's not.
You take these contractors that are selling houses themselves, and they can turn around and they have open houses, and they have their own people coming in to do these open houses, and they're not listed on the board. They can get a house listed for sale, and they're not held to the same standards we are when it comes to how an offer is, what has to be on an offer, what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable. They get somebody that has to sell their house. Well, sale of property doesn't matter. Like, the offer's the offer. We want our money, kind of thing. I know I have friends that work with them.
Right.
And it's really unfortunate. Same thing with the disclosure. We had a situation many years ago, and I won't mention the contractor, but I haven't done any business with him since.
Right.
But a situation where, you know how we have to, on an offer, indicate what's included and what's not included. If something is deemed to be included or excluded and it's attached to the house, we have to make certain that there's an understanding that it'll be gone and that the people that buy in the house agree to that.
Right.
Well, I had a couple from Toronto come in and they bought a property. When they sold their home in Toronto, they sold the fridge, stove, washer, and dryer with the house.
Right.
They bought this brand new house direct with a contractor.
Builder.
With a builder in Fawn Hill.
Yeah.
And they went through all the paperwork and everything, so that was their business. Now, on the day I had a key to the new house, they gave me a key because they, at the time, they had Sears delivering washer, dryer, stove, and fridge. And the idea was that the truck driver, when he got on the street, would call me, and I'd go and open the house so they could bring the stuff in.
Right.
So I got the call from the truck driver, all right. The guy says, there's no number, I don't know, I'll pick a number. There's no number 14 on this street. I said, well, yeah, there is. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here, we've been up and down this street. There's no house on the street.
Okay.
I said, well, stay there. I'll be right there. So I drove over, got into the driver. He said, here's the house. He said, look, there's no number on it. Holy shit, there isn't a number on it. So I called the contractor. Hey, you guys forgot to put the number. Oh, we did not forget to put the number.
No.
If your people want a number on the house, they can go out and buy one. Let me know, and I'll send my guy over to put it up for them. There was no number on the house.
Wow.
There was no toilet paper holder. There was no towel holder in the bathroom. There was no mirror in the bathroom.
Wow.
Oh, those are all extras. Well, you didn't tell your people? No. You think that if we did that, we'd be brought behind, we'd be, we're the professionals, we're supposed to disclose this stuff. Coals,
yeah.
These people get away with it.
Wow.
So guess who had to buy the paper holder and everything else to keep the peace?
Yeah, you put it together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's, again, they're not held to the same standards. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's run into that kind of thing. But just those three examples of we're working up against a brick wall because we're the ones that, are the reason why there's an MLS system.
Right.
It's there as a common thing for all of us to work to. And yet now anybody can kind of get into it, do their own thing with it. And we have no say. We have no protection.
Yeah.
And it's not only all about us, it's the people that are trying to sell their house. It's less and less and less because now the responsibilities that they entrust to some of these people, that doesn't matter.
Right.
So you hear nightmares about stories of things that have happened like that. And it's not right. But that's the world today, You just got to be aware of it all, you know. And it just continues to change.
So going back from when you started to now, what improvement in the industry? We're kind of talking of a mix. Where is the industry better than it was before, or is it easier to talk about what's worse off?
No, I think it's better in many ways.
Yeah,
because there's because of the open communication thing with the internet.
Right,
people are more educated, more aware. Buyers.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yes.
It also, the technology's allowed us to have the tools to do our jobs a little quicker, a little better. So there's big improvements in that way.
Right.
to get our license for folks to qualify. You know, when I got my license, there was a correspondence course you did at home. You got it in the mail,
Right.
and then there were 2 other courses you had to take a week,
Right.
each at a class.
It is a good thing to make it a little bit harder to get into.
So it's harder. It's more difficult to get in.
Yeah.
And the courses are are getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Which is a very good thing.
And not to limit our competition, but to have people coming in more educated.
That's right, because there's too many things these days and liabilities that are out there, and it's a profession, like it's something that you have to know what you're doing, be updated with to know what's going on a regular basis, and to be constantly updated is really important.
Right.
I just think that some of that updating would be much better if they put a personal touch to it. You know, if they did have a session, you know, once a quarter or a couple of times a year, you know, where people can ask questions and be involved in this a little more.
I've heard some people throwing around the idea of real estate should have an apprentice type approach once you get in. Do you think that would be good?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think they should be. I think, honestly, within the first 2 years,
detrimental.
That you should have somebody.
Yeah.
You should be attached to somebody to say, okay, this is your mentor for those 2 years.
Like I did with you and Dean.
Well,
I got as much from as I could. Do you know how much of an inspiration you have been in my career?
I have no idea.
just to give you a little example, do you remember the first time we met, or the first time I came up to your office? Because I do, to chat, because we've had a good number of them.
When you get old like me, your memory fades.
Well, I don't even have as great a memory, but I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate all the times, even you taking time, because every time we talk, I learn something. And this has helped me. You and Dean have been paramount in helping me avoid these scars that we talk about.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. We wouldn't want to see anything happen to you because we like you.
But the first thing you taught me, because when I came into the business, I had 0 office experience. 0. So lots of business experience, a lot of dealing with people. But when it came down to how to operate a business in an office, I had no idea. And just like you walked in here and you said, what a difference this office is compared to the one. But I remember my first deal, right? Where I think it was the offer. And I handed it in to Nancy, our secretary, and I gave her it. And then she said, did you keep yourself a copy? And I said, no, you've got it. I'm like, and she goes, no, you need a copy too. And I'm like, I remember thinking, why do I need a copy if you have a copy? But she said it, so I took a copy, and I'm brand new. So what do I do with this copy of the offer? I have no idea. So I put it on my desk. This was my filing system. It was literally just like that. It was, okay, there's an offer. My day, I'll continue. And one of the first things you taught me was it didn't take me too long to realize that was an important piece of paper, and I needed to have some kind of filing system. And you showed me how you had old deals in your cabinet, and then you had live deals, and then conditional deals, and this is how I have the office set up in Fawn Hill there. Yeah,
same way.
And I had no idea that nothing like that for sure is in school.
No, they don't teach you the reality. No,
and that's something so micro that. Wasn't in our training with Century 21 is unbelievable, but that's something that I had amongst tons of things, learning from like you and Dean and others, but was just how to file files.
Where to put stuff.
Organization.
How to find it.
Yeah, how to find it. And as time goes on, and even now, even though I have a system, now it's even I'm having another challenge, because I have a lot of people in different stages of buying and selling.
Yes.
and trying to manage that. Like I have it in physical form. I've been working more with like online to manage everything, but right from the beginning, you gave me the foundation of this.
That's good to know, Joe.
Because organization, as you know, if you're not organized in this business, we know people that aren't organized.
It's so true. How do you remember everything?
It's impossible. No. It's impossible. Like right now, as we're talking, I remember right now to just a client asked me, "Have you heard back on a property?" And I haven't heard back from the realtor. And you're talking about feedback. Is this client wants to go see this property, and I've called the listing agent twice and I haven't heard back.
Right.
And right now I'm thinking, oh shit, I have to call her and tell her I still haven't heard.
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard, it makes us look bad.
Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful?
I have to put this note, call her when we're done, because I have to call her, tell her I haven't heard, and then call the agent for a third time.
Yes.
And say, can you help me out here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that'll be a little interesting thing to talk about too. How I think it all ties into what we're talking about with communication and trust and everything. But with our vendors, buyers or sellers, how the other realtor that we're working with, whether it's a deal or like this, just trying to get information. If we're not getting cooperation from them, it makes us look bad.
It certainly does.
Which is a tough thing too, because one of the best realtors like yourself, with whatever, like a deal or just trying to interact, if you're dealing with the weakest link, the other realtor on the other side, and they're not helping you, now you don't look like you're the best at the moment anymore, because the best would get that information.
That's right.
But
that's true.
It's tough. This industry's so interesting like that.
It's remembering what to follow up on.
Right.
And I used to tell folks, my job doesn't really start until after an offer is accepted.
Right.
Like showing you the houses, getting an offer going, that's not my job. Like
right.
The house is selling itself. I'm putting the words together for you. My job starts once it's accepted.
Exactly.
Because now we get a time frame where you got inspections and financing, and somebody's got to be talking to whoever is involved in making that work. If it's a sale of property, it's the same thing.
Exactly.
So there's timelines attached to it. So my job starts by following up those timelines, getting that information, making sure it's going to happen on time, talking to who the finance people are, communicating with those finance people, if it's your deal, and a home inspector, an appraiser,
right?
It's very hard when it's your offer, you're following up on all those points. How do you keep track of it? If you get one deal going and it's something to do, great. If you get 5 or 6 of them on a go, how do you know where you're at, where you've been, what you're supposed to be doing, unless you get some kind of a system to look at that helps you along?
Right.
And I mean, it's not rocket science. It's like keeping your sanity.
Yes.
But making sure too that you're not missing something. How often do you call on a day that a financing thing is due, you haven't heard from the other realtor, you've called 2 or 3 times during that 7-day period and they've never returned the call.
They don't even call you back.
And then on that day, you'll finally connect with them and they'll say, well, how are we doing? The conditions are due today. Oh, they're due today?
Oh, dude.
I didn't even know. Well, what bank's the guy with? Oh, I really don't know. Well, where the hell you been the last 7 days? It's my people that are waiting now.
Exactly.
And you're the one that looks, But unfortunately, that happens more than it should.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
We had a situation just happen yesterday. We had 2 different home inspectors go to the same house to do a home inspection on the same day.
You're the listing agent?
No, this is another.
Okay.
This is another story.
Gotcha.
And yet the agent is from Toronto. Duh. You don't know. Well, you're people who ordered them.
Booked 2 home inspectors.
Yeah. But you see, this is a very valid reason why the outside world thinks we're, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We get paid too much.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the same way.
Of course. And you hear more about those than the Donnies of the world.
Well, yeah, the ones that are doing, like, just because it happened, it seems like it happened smoothly, doesn't mean to say you haven't had a nervous breakdown in the process.
See, that's another challenging part I find too. This is actually really good, is when we're going through a conditional offer and we are actually maybe communicating with the other realtor and they maybe say the financing is looking a little shaky. Now, managing information with our clients too, because
yes,
we're on the front line.
Yes.
So we're going through every bump, gully of the roller coaster. And now it's a little bit of a challenge with how much information do we share with our clients. We want to stay transparent with them.
Yep.
But you don't necessarily need to let them know of every hurdle we're going over.
No, it's dealing with stuff like this with diplomacy,
right?
And in a strategic way, so that you're not throwing gas on a fire.
Right.
You're not going to make it explode.
Right.
You recognize that, okay, maybe you got a stumbling block here. You have to make. You want to communicate with your people, like kind of where you're at.
Right.
But you're also looking at different options, different alternatives.
Right. Working towards the solution.
And trying to get this done. So,
yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with understanding, like, another area. Like, we understand how to put an offer together and how to negotiate an offer.
Right.
You get a mortgage broker or a bank understands what they need to do to qualify a buyer. I think it's our responsibility to also know what it takes to qualify a buyer.
Yes.
Even though we're not doing it.
Yeah.
We need to know the questions they're going to be asked, the proof that they're going to have to submit. We need to know how long they've worked someplace, what their credit is like. Somehow you got to get that information out of them.
Yeah.
So that you get a warm feeling inside that they're going to be okay.
That we can move forward.
You're not spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
So, and because of the Privacy Act, there's a lot of things that banks and mortgage people won't tell you, can't
share
you.
with us. Yeah.
So you have to kind of, be asking your buyers questions and in a way that
deep
you can kind of not turn them off.
Yeah.
But yet understand what you're doing so that you can be a help to them.
Right.
And everybody's different. Some people will just be out and tell you. Other people are very secretive.
They don't want to tell you.
They don't want to tell you.
100%.
So, and you don't want to turn them off. So, it's a challenge. But by knowing then what you like, what I'll often do with a buyer that is, talk to a bank or find out what bank they're working with, find out what mortgage person they're working with, and usually try to say, oh, look, that's good. They've told you this. What I need to know is the name of the person and maybe an email address or a phone number.
Right.
Because that's the person that I now have to start to work with.
Right.
Once I get this offer accepted with you.
Right.
I have to work directly with that person. So I know what's going on and I can be a help to you. So most of the time I'll end up with a name and a number. And I'll talk to the agent. Most of them are very welcoming. Very accommodating. Oh yeah, I'm just so that I'll say, well, okay, as I'm coming along and I've got a notice of fulfillment for this, and this.
Right.
I'll make sure you got the paperwork. If there's anything else you need from me, you call me. Together we can make sure this is all going to happen on time.
Exactly.
Some of them you'll call and they've even got their backs up. Well, I didn't necessarily really tell them that. I meant this, but they got to give me this because I haven't got that yet.
Right.
Well, then you kind of know, whoa, what are you doing? So, but you don't go and tell them that you know all this.
No.
You do it in a discreet way.
Yeah.
Only, not because you're nosy, but because you want to be able to
help them get
what they want to get.
Exactly.
And it's all in the way that you know it. How often do you know when you're talking to an agent and they haven't got a clue whether they've been pre-qualified yet or what bank they're working with? They just said that there should be no problem.
Right.
That's okay. I've heard that before.
Right.
But can you find out? And someone will get their back up. Well, I don't need to do that. Oh, that's okay.
Now,
it's just.
Do you find? Sorry to interrupt.
No.
now the mortgage rules have changed.
Yes.
We're talking about financing. Was it easier or harder before compared to now with just dealing with the financing end? Because I find, and I tell everybody, that when purchasing a property, I find the most difficult part is the financing part.
Yeah.
Because this is my experiences, is a lot of the banks or mortgage brokers tend to not have done a great pre-approval.
No.
And then during the financing condition where we have our time, the 7, 10, or 14 days or whatever it may be, that a lot of times, not all the time, my clients are providing things to their mortgage representative that should have been done before.
That's right.
Which makes it harder. Why we need the 10 or 14 days? Because the pre-approval wasn't done so well before. But was it always kind of like that?
It is. Well, there's a difference. There's a difference between pre-approval and pre-qualified.
Right.
And it's a gray area for many people. Now, to be pre-qualified, you have to, I think that's the one.
Right.
You have to have, the bank will have done a credit check on you. They will have received a copy of your pay stub or your income tax sheet to show where you work. They have received a copy of your employment letter to show that you've been there so many years and you're good to go. Now, if you've been pre-qualified, you're good to go. You still, when you're putting an offer in, you still have to put conditional financing because now the property that you're buying has to be worth the money that you want to pay for it.
Right.
So that clause still has to go in there, and then they'll verify the value. Too many people are just pre-approved. They'll call a mortgage broker. They don't want to spend the money on getting a credit check. So, and then many of them say, well, go out and get an offer and then see me. You should be okay. And then we find out, you should be okay. Like,
that's the worst.
Then they'll have us running around for whatever until we finally put together a deal, only to find out that we were spinning our wheels all along in the first place.
For weeks or months.
So I tell that to people that I'm working with. Like, this is what you really need to do. Then you're going to feel really confident and have the power behind you to get a good deal. Hard to do because some people, and the ones, I don't know, the ones sometimes that buck at it are usually the ones that there's a problem.
Right. And that's
a red flag.
Yeah. I just learned something here too. This is a good thing that I'll be passing on to clients because I do my best to have all my buyers as financially prepared as possible. Because as we know, today a house could get listed.
Right.
That could be sold today.
Yes.
And if we're not prepared to make an offer like that, we're not prepared to buy a house.
No.
So I spend a lot of time with my buyer clients making sure that they're pre-qualified, pre-approved, whatever the term is.
Yes, that's a good thing. It's a time saver.
But what you just told me is a good thing that I should tell people, because I go through, almost through the ringer with my clients, making sure, and the same thing you've taught me, talk to the mortgage broker, as long as everybody's good with this, make sure everybody's on the same page so we're armed to move forward.
Yeah.
But a good line that I just learned here is the only thing that we should be looking at is the house worth the money that we're talking about?
Yes.
Not the client.
No.
The client should be ready with every little piece of paper.
That's right.
I understand where in some cases there might be some new things come to light since the mortgage broker and the buyer have met. Maybe they got a raise.
Yes.
Maybe their hours got cut by 5 hours a week. So something could have changed.
Yes.
But on that date that qualification was made, there should be nothing left.
No.
Right?
No, it should be just routine.
Just the house. That's all we should be talking about on the offer. See, I've never said that before.
Yeah,
I've said to people that you want, when you go in and meet with your bank, you want to have the conversation with them as if you were there with an offer today. Mm-hmm. But that still doesn't quite happen.
No.
A lot of times.
No. But when you do, if you're coming in with an offer, you're a little more firm when you're saying to your the agent at the other end, look, my people have been pre-qualified. They're good to go. The financing clause is in there only to have the bank confirm that the house is worth the money for the mortgage. Mm-hmm. And so that's all that needs to be done. We need so many days because there's quite likely they're going to need an appraisal done, so we've allowed some
Right.
time for the appraisal.
Right.
But even though we've asked for that time, I'll be on it right away. I'll let you know who the appraiser is, and
Right.
because this is the bank, it's TD, or it's this one, or it's that one.
Yeah.
These are the people I'm working with. I'm talking directly. So I'm giving the guy at the other end a comfort level
Right.
that he's saying, well, okay, this is, whereas the other offer that's come in, he doesn't even know whether the guy's got a, should be okay. Yeah.
My client says he's approved for $1 million.
Yeah, should be okay.
It's good.
Don't bother me. I'm on the golf course. Geez. But that's the problem, and that's always that's the difference, I think, between doing a job and doing it properly.
Yes.
And then feeling more comfortable.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse, especially if you're even in a competition, where at the end of the day you win a competition or you got the offer accepted, and you have to go back and say, oh shit, we can't get the money. It's terrible.
It's the worst.
And it's still possible that it can happen.
Yeah.
But you've done everything in your power to try to avoid that. And I think over time, when you're working with different realtors and they get to know you,
yes.
and they've done deals with you in the past, if you're bringing an offer in, and it's a choice between you and somebody else, and they know the reputation you have in pre-qualifying your people, and following up, they're more apt to lean towards you, even if yours is a little less. Suggest that that's the one you should take. This seems stronger
because he puts deals
and I've
together.
had that happen to me.
I believe it 1,000,000%.
Yeah. And so and it's not rocket science at all.
None of it
common
is
sense.
Yeah, I don't know what's common anymore, but yes. if this industry's taught me anything.
Well, then that means you're perfectly normal.
But this is so true. These are things that you can't communicate to everybody too. Is an experienced agent like yourself. You've got a lot of time on me, and this is ways that you can handle your clients even better than I can. And I've learned because a lot of the different realtors and exactly like that.
Just like you, I think, have to know your buyers, your vendors as much as you can. You got to really get to know the people that you work with.
100%.
And for the most part, I find most of them are great to work with.
Yeah.
Honestly, everybody works a little differently, and you might have some differences of opinion. But for the most part, it's a pleasure.
Yes.
Every once in a while, though, someone marches along that's not got the best reputation.
Yeah.
That's had some problems in the past. So instead of putting that down, if you know the personality that you're working with, then you know how to handle that particular situation. You don't want to lose a deal because you don't like a person, or you've had a falling out. So you work around that personality.
Yeah, exactly.
And the important thing is you get the job done.
Exactly.
But it's all about knowing your people.
Exactly.
And then in which ones you think you can trust, which ones you will worry a little bit about.
Because these situations come up, and this is when I step back and I look at the different realtors, because I like to think, if I was a vendor or a buyer, who would I want to work with? And when I think of working with you and knowing, because I know that if you were my realtor, which if I wasn't a realtor, you'd likely be.
Oh, okay.
But I know that now, after being in the business, if you ran into a situation with one of any challenging realtors, mortgage brokers, whatever it may be, that you're apt to making it happen and getting through it. Whereas seeing other realtors having maybe thinner skin, or I don't even know if it's less patience, might not be able to put a deal together because of who they're dealing with, because we're talking about the challenges. But you, I don't think, even though it might be harder on you, you'll get through it, and that's a great thing.
You try. I think you take it. I take it personally,
right?
Because you'd be conscientious about what you do, and I always worry about, did I do something wrong for this person? Because
right.
I'd rather lose a deal than do that, because I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Right.
But when you look at how things have changed over the years with financing, when I started doing this, you never to call somebody at a bank and try to get an approval or find out what's going on with a buyer,
Right.
that was a no-no. They didn't want to talk to you. That was like,
Really?
that's poison ivy. You didn't just do that.
Really?
And then the bank started to wake up a little bit, and they had these mobile mortgage people,
Right.
where they would turn around and have somebody go to the real estate offices. Now they started to recognize that maybe we could bring them some business and say, if you got anybody, you could use this. And I'll never forget the very first one that I used. Her name was Marlene Palms, and she was with the TD.
Okay.
She's a great gal. And I stumbled on being in the office once when she came in. She was just getting going at it. And we did a ton of business together, because all of my buyers, whenever I get a buyer, I would tell them, call Marlene, see what she can do for you. Even though you got your own bank, my bank's got an appointment. I can go in on Thursday at 9 o'clock. But the person I'm going to see Thursday at 9 o'clock is away on holidays, so I'm going to have Joe Blow from the other office filling in.
Right.
I say, well, call Marlene. She'll come out to your house tonight. And
Right.
she did.
Right.
And she'd get the deal.
Right.
Because back then it was all about appointments and waiting. We got instant information. So she was doing
Right.
it for an awful long time. And then when she stopped, then I hooked up with a mortgage specialist, Dan Bolio, over at the Royal Bank. And Danny and I did business for many, many, many years.
Right.
And but he's been out, like you talk about Wainfleet, out in a farm country, out in these boondocks. He would go out at night, but he'd go out at night to people's homes.
Wow.
And get these, get them pre-qualified.
Nice.
You didn't have to make an appointment at a bank.
Nice.
I hooked onto that. Thought that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And we were doing business like crazy.
That's amazing.
And that kind of opened the door. Then after that faded out, because now computers got in, and back then, if you used the mortgage broker, that was a no-no, because you had to pay out of your own pocket for that mortgage
Really?
broker. You didn't, and that was usually hard financing that the banks couldn't handle. So they would go to these secondary lenders through
Really?
a mortgage broker, and you had to pay the mortgage broker.
So that's why there's a little bit of a stigma with mortgage
So
brokers.
a lot, yes. So now I'll say, you can call, say, Chris at our office,
Yeah.
but there's no charge to you. He gets paid from the lending institution that he's
Right.
going to put the mortgage with, and he can shop the market to get you the best deal.
Yeah.
And he'll come out to your house, because he does that. Like he'll meet with you in the off hours on a Sunday morning, whereas your bank, you got to make an appointment during the week. So an awful lot of that is a bit of an edge for you to find out. And if you're working with specific mortgage people, then there's a good communication line between the two of you as to whether you're spinning your wheels or not. So it's always good to have that
Yes.
going on. And but that's the way it went. Then all of a sudden, the government was relaxing the rules.
Right.
So more and more people could buy. And we went into a phase where, my God, you could buy with no money down.
Right.
The bank would give you 5%.
Wow.
They would give you the money.
Wow. When was this happening?
And this was happening, this was maybe back in 09 when... this
10
book was
or
still-
so years
yeah.
ago? Okay.
The bank would give you 5%. So,
Wow.
So what you did is, whatever the interest rate, let's say a person didn't have their down payment, but they had good credit and everything else was good.
Right.
And they wanted to buy a house, but they didn't have the 5% down. Well, the bank would give you the 5% to put down. And then the interest rate that the bank charged you for your 3-year term, I think your 3 years was the lowest you could go, was maybe a quarter point higher than the normal rate.
Okay.
That's how they got their money back.
Right.
But you bought the house because you got your down payment then.
Wow. That's a good incentive.
Oh, it worked like crazy. Then people that were in business for themselves, for a period of time, they did not have to provide income tax records to show.
Wow.
They just had to say what they were making, and they
was taken at face value?
and they were taken at face value.
Wow.
So
is that good or bad?
Well, it's not the best thing, but it was good for the real estate market at the time. So things were were booming.
Right. Everybody could buy.
Booming. Everybody. So why rent? People that were good tenants that were saving their money while they were renting for that down payment didn't have to save their money anymore. They could go and do that.
Time to buy.
Time to buy. And so that gave us a boom, and we were going nuts. Like,
wow.
And for the longest time, we were able to, tap into that situation and let it go.
That opportunity.
Oh, and the other thing that they did during that time period, you could get a mortgage amortized up to 40 years.
40 years?
So your payments would be just, So you could
everybody was buying
then everybody
a house.
wanted to sell real estate because it was so easy to do, right? And we had them coming in left and right. We had membership booming. But that's the way it was.
So I didn't need 5% down. The bank would give me 5%.
Yeah.
And I could amortize it
over 40 years.
40 years. So I don't put any money down, and now my payments are very low.
Yeah.
So renting wasn't attractive at all.
No, renting was not attractive at all. And so to get into, and you could also buy investment properties, like you could buy a duplex or a home you were going to rent with 5% down.
Really?
Yeah.
Instead of 20% minimum now.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think we'll ever see anything like that again?
I don't think so. Not in the near future, because that made everything balloon out of control.
Right.
And then all of a sudden now they started to tighten things up. They brought the amortization back down to 25 years. They discontinued that 5% thing.
Right.
They increased the interest rates. They're trying to slow things down. And then it leveled off for a bit until all of a sudden, about 2.5 years ago, the boom came when all hell broke loose again. Yeah. And then it didn't matter because people were putting offers in whether they knew they could get the money or not, and it was over the price, and they were getting the price.
Right.
They were competing with Toronto.
Right.
And now because of that, it's changed again, where they've tightened everything up. And one of the problems that we got today, a big problem, is that people are being approved on the basis of the going rate and not the discount rate.
Right. Now
that's a good thing in many respects, because there are a lot of people that were overdoing it.
Yeah.
But by the same token, it's helped control the prices, because there's such a big difference between what they would qualify under the old rules and what they would qualify to do, like hundreds, thousands of dollars of difference.
Yeah.
That it's bringing prices down, and prices are more consistent.
Yeah.
But that they're always trying to control, like to.
The government's got a huge impact on our industry.
Oh, big time!
Huge.
Now they're talking about bringing the so that people will qualify better, I guess.
Right.
Bringing the amortization rate back to 30 years.
Right.
That's not going to happen until September, though. If the Liberal government, they're using that, as I understand, as one of the carrots to vote for them.
Right.
But also, they're looking at giving you part of the money again.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a little more
up to
complicated.
10%.
Yeah, and it's a little more complicated now, though, because now they have ownership up to 10%, and how that's going to pan out when you sell it. And that's
really interesting. Going to see how that pans out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you make all these rules to have an effect. You have the effect, and then you make all these other rules to undo that effect that you had. I mean, why just not change the rules back again?
Right. Do you think a free market would be better, where there's less regulation, or do you think it's good?
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's good because there has to be some kind of control.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's going to reach the point where people can't afford it. Because nothing, like the average guy and his salary and the number of jobs that are available anymore are not there.
Right.
So where do these people come that can afford that kind of money?
Right.
Really, there's nothing around here. And it's all technology, more and more and more.
Right.
It's coming in. So it's going to be the point. I don't know how today folks can buy some of these new homes, the average person.
First-time buyers.
Yeah. It's deadly out there.
This is what I tell people regularly, too, that anybody that owned real estate before the boom is fine. Because if you owned during that, you went through the appreciation. But the first time buyers that haven't bought yet, they really got set back with that huge boom.
Yes.
Because it comes up all the time, like you're saying, people's salaries and incomes haven't gone up anywhere near what real estate, not even a fraction.
No.
Yeah, so
the only thing that's really changed dramatically is the government rules to qualify.
Right.
And it's to the point where the average guy can't do it. And a good sign, like a lot of this is, you're talking and just the experience of what's going on, you're kind of seeing. But a proof of what's really happening is like in these new subdivisions now. You'll notice that whenever there's going to be a new subdivision going up, you'll see a big sign and it'll say like 50% sold. I understand that these developers, before they can break ground and start building, they have to prove to their lender that a certain percentage of this development is sold.
Right, for financing.
For financing purposes.
Yeah.
Now, so you'll see these big signs, but many of these developers, especially the ones from out of town, they've got their investor buyers. So they'll go in Toronto and they'll say, we want to start this subdivision in Welland. And so the investors will say, okay, we'll buy 10 of them.
Yeah.
So now another investor will buy another 10. It's not the average Joe like you and me that says, I'll buy one and then he'll buy one.
Right.
Nobody's buying. They're just all investors. So, or the majority are investors.
Right.
So now, this happens a long time ago. They get the approval. They start building the houses. The idea is that by the time these houses are built, they go on the market for sale. That investor is going to make good money on them because the difference between what he bought for and what he's selling for is going to make 50 grand, 100 grand.
Yeah.
Well, now you'll see for the first time ever on the MLS system at a significant amount of brand new home rentals. $2,800 a month, $2,500 a month, $3,100 a month.
Right.
Brand new houses.
Brand new.
Never used to see that on the MLS system before, ever.
Right.
Now, it's these investors, because they've changed the mortgage rules, people can't buy, they can't sell. So now they're renting. They're trying to get some of their money back. Now, even these rents are being negotiated.
Right.
And they're taking less. And so the rents that they're getting for these properties are not even covering their monthly costs.
It's a scary thing for the industry.
Yes, and now they're putting the difference out with the hopes that up the road things will change and they'll get their money. So that's a real good signal that things are slowing down.
Right.
It's tight, it's hard.
Right.
And so now you look and say, well, geez, you still see all this development going on. Well, it's going on because all of this stuff was approved not a week ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Years.
So this is like the tail end of all that approval. Anything that's looking to be approved now for years up the road is not happening.
Right.
So we're going to end up with a flood of stuff.
There's going to be more inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, the person's, and it's all going to boil down to, I think, a person's ability to buy. You're going to have a lot of people that want it. There's going to be a need for it. But whether a person's going to be able to or not.
Afford it. Yeah.
Because, where does the money come from?
Right.
There's only so much of it.
Right.
So I think that's, when you're looking at this, it's going to be a whole changing
little shift.
And then when you got to look at technology and our jobs, and as a real estate salesperson, where does your career go? With all this change happening and with all this technology, what's in it for you?
Right.
What's your destiny?
Right.
Got to look at that.
Do you think that I'll be able to work in this industry as long as you have? Do you think that there will always be a need for us? Or do you think it'll phase away?
I think there will always be a need.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't know that we'll see, as many people involved in it as we have now.
Right.
I see technology playing a much higher role.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there'll always be a need.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's just you have to think outside of the box, and you got to be looking ahead and being aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah.
Like, don't get complacent and just say, "Oh, this is great. I got a few deals. I'll take a month off." Like, look and see. Look and see. You might have 6 months of eating hot dogs.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
It's a tough business. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's being aware of that and being smart with that.
Yeah. See, I find it so interesting having these talks, seeing just 10 years ago where that book was the MLS.
This was the be-all, end-all.
10 years ago.
Yeah. I used to have people come by and they'd say, "Have you got an old book?" That's how I would give them, they could look through it. Is this place still available? Is that place still available? And, that's because this was sacred. This was it. And then we used to get, I think it was on a quarterly basis, a thicker book.
Right.
It showed all the sales.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and what they got for it. But, this is nine years ago.
Yeah.
And, like you got a...
Can you read me one of them in there?
Yeah, like we'll just look at...
I can't believe.
Here's Welland.
Yeah.
Here's a 3-bedroom bungalow on Northwood in Welland.
West Side, nice.
Yeah, 2009, 209,000.
That was 10 years ago.
10 years ago. No,
So
400,000.
So now it would be about double.
Yeah, Rosewood Avenue here in town, 169,000.
169.
Royal Oak Drive in Welland, 175,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be over 400 probably now too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like it's the prices
Wow.
are
Do you remember how much the first house was that you sold?
yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. It was $49,000. Here's a duplex.
A duplex? Really?
Right by Chippewa Park.
Really?
Yep.
What?
And I was in the office. I worked with Bill Bestward at the time. And we used to have, the real estate offices, by the way, were open till 8 o'clock at night during the week.
Oh, wow.
And we used to have to come in to do duty. And you'd be, if it was your duty time, up till 8 o'clock on certain nights. And I was sitting in the office. And this lady walked in, said, "I want to list my house," just out of the blue. And I went to see her. We listed the house. I think it was like 59.9. We listed it for. And 2 or 3 weeks later, we sold it was 49 and change. That was my first deal.
$49,000 duplex by Chippewa.
And then and everything was 6% then, so I got my 3%. 3% of 49,000. So I ended up getting my $75 after everything was taken out. I thought, holy
After
shit,
went through
it's
the
a lot of money.
Wow.
But yeah, that was. I can remember I've done deals 39,000, 35,000.
Wow.
I think the biggest one I ever did was 650 recently.
Oh, nice.
Never really did anything. But back in 9 years ago, like you could buy a wartime house for $75,000.
Right. And now they're pushing 200, yeah?
Oh, they're $250,000 if they're all fixed up.
If they're
no basement, no garage, 240,000, 230,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you grow up in Welland?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so you've been a Welland boy.
Yes, all my life.
Nice.
Yeah. My first home, I bought it privately. Way back in the Stone Age, 1968, I think it was.
Right.
It's a 3-bedroom brick bungalow built by Kenmore Construction out on Louise Street, which is down by the Union Carbide.
Right.
There was one street, Kenmore Construction had come in and built these homes, and we bought it from a couple that couldn't carry it. And I paid $18,500 for it.
Really?
I had a 6% mortgage for life. They had mortgages for life back then. You didn't every 3 years change the rate.
Wow.
25-year term.
Life.
25 years at 6%.
Wow.
Open. And my payments, including my taxes, were $91 a month. I remember that, eh?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then went from there. But yeah, you would pay. If you back in them days, Kenmore was building homes off of Lincoln Street, Harrison Avenue, Gladys Avenue. I remember going into these homes, and they were like, wow. Brick bungalows with garages and nice homes that you could buy. And they were $24,000, $21,000,
wow,
$27,000,
and they were making money,
brand spanking new.
They were making money selling it at those prices.
But when you bought them,
yeah,
they were there was no landscaping. So you ended up buying them, and then you ended up bringing in the topsoil, putting in the shrubs, putting in the fence, and doing all of that stuff.
Right.
My very first brand new home I bought in the 70s on Bryant Crescent, which is off of Rolling Acres Drive, in that section there.
Yeah.
And it was a Kenmore home. The Crescent was just being built, and we were the first 3 houses on the Crescent, backing onto a park. And I paid $31,500 for a brand new raised bungalow.
What do you think that'd be worth today?
Oh, shit. High 3s,
yeah.
low 4s.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
That's so crazy.
So it goes to show you how it has changed. And buying a house back then was nothing like buying a house now. It was a lot easier.
Yeah.
You dealt directly with your bank. Like with Kenmore, they had a thing going with the Royal Bank at the time. So I just went in and saw the house and said, okay, I want to get it. It was a no negotiable price. Like when it's a brand new house, you got what you got, and that was the price.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just hook you up with the Royal Bank. So my mortgage was out of St. Catharines, the Royal Bank there.
Right.
And it was pretty easy, to do. But sitting down with Kenmore at the time, you had one piece of paper, you signed it. It was like nothing like now.
Right now,
yeah,
a phone book.
But who would have ever thought, that it would come to where it's at today?
Well, I'm just trying to think. We're talking, but I'm thinking 10 years ago we've got that book. Now we've got the internet, MLS, and all these things. And I'm trying to think, what's it going to be 10 years from now? Because if that's what it was like 10 years ago.
Well, it won't take, what's happened in a 10-year span will happen now in a 5-year span.
Right.
It's quicker and quicker.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I can't even fathom right now. And I'm doing the best I can to be on the forefront of changes.
Yeah.
Being newer to the industry, I'm trying to adapt as quickly as possible. But when I look at that being 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I was alive and well, and I was a man in a lot of senses.
Yeah.
But when I look at that book, I think that would be
so
30-year ago technology.
Yeah, really. Because that's what this is what it was for such a long time. That was the only way you could see collectively what was out there. Prior to the books, the real estate guy had a little, the one that I remember seeing was a binder, like it had a wood bottom, and it was 2 great big loops that you could turn, and it had a two hole punch.
Right.
So your listing was a little piece of paper, maybe half the size of this book was the listing. A carbon copy of that listing is what you put into your little binder, and that's how you knew what your listings were.
So how did you know?
No picture, no nothing. It's a carbon copy of the...
So how would any realtors know what other people had listed?
Well, no, at the time, I don't know whether the office got copies of all of these listings.
Right.
Till finally the books come out, then you knew. But you also went on these Thursday tours, and you got to see what was out there.
Right. Wow.
But I remember that well. I remember one, we had some cottages up at Crystal Beach that I bought when I was, just before I started to work at Page Hersey. And I remember old Frank Sorrentino. Back in the day, he was the real estate guy in Welland, Sorrentino Real Estate. And he competed against Peter Suka Real Estate. They were two old guys.
The two big guys.
They were the Remax and the Royal LePage of the day.
Right.
Back then.
Right.
And old Frank, he always, little short Italian guy, always had a cigar in his mouth. And I never forget how he did. He sold me the cottages at Crystal Beach. We bought 2 cottages. They were condemned. They needed to be fixed. And I got the 2 cottages for $550 total.
What?
And Frank pulled up the car, went into the buildings, come back out of the buildings. He opened the trunk of his car. He had one of these Ford Pintos that had took out this manual typewriter. He put the typewriter on the hood of the car. He put the carbon copy offer in with his 2 fingers, like one on each hand, typed the offer, had me sign it. That was the offer. Right.
Really?
Yep. Paid full price. He got his 6%.
A typewriter.
Yeah, it was a manual bing 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 typewriter. He had to press hard to make it hit for the carbon
That's
copy.
amazing.
Yeah, that's what he did.
So these were your cottages you sold or you bought?
I bought them.
You bought these?
Yeah,
so
I bought them, and they were listed with a realtor out of Crystal Beach, and I used to call Frank and dabble, find out what's...
As funny as that is, it's pretty efficient though that he was able to do that on the spot.
He was ahead of his time.
Because because right now, even now with all the technologies, if somebody wants to buy a property on the spot, for us to even whip it up on a computer, there's so much paperwork.
Oh yeah, no, they did that right away.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah. He was quite the guy. Now his competitor, Peter Suka, he was the other. These guys were pretty sharp, you know. I mean, I'm sure they did a few things, under the table kind of thing, but they were big names, good reputations,
right,
in town, and they, that there was it. There was no other real estate companies in town, and Peter Suka had a really good need. First of all, he was always on the radio. He had a little jingle. Call Peter Suka right away, and they had these people singing this song.
Oh yeah,
Peter Suka Real Estate. But what he used to do is, I would buy a house from Peter. So when part of the deal was, I bought the house.
Right.
I had to sign a piece of paper then.
Right.
When I bought it, that when I sell it, I will deal through him.
Really?
Yep.
A seller rep when you buy?
Yeah, because there was no buyer rep, seller rep thing like we have today. Yeah. So he
That's amazing.
Plus he used to hold mortgages all over the place for down payments, for this, for that.
Wow.
So his business boomed.
Booming.
Yeah. His business boomed.
Wow. So,
but that's going back to the Stone Age when these guys worked like, they were starting. The rules were starting to
just come into play. Yeah.
Yeah, like you had
no rules and
Yeah, if you could list it. An exclusive listing was 5%. If you wanted to put it on the MLS at the time, they called it MLS, it was 6%.
Right.
So you could pick a 5% or a 6%. You
Right.
take it. You want exclusive or you want an MLS.
Right. I can only imagine how well you could get your business engine running when you sell a place. They signed as...
Well, you couldn't do that today.
No, not a chance.
No, I know.
But then you're selling properties and you're building a huge portfolio.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Oh yeah, isn't that something?
So then when you sold with him?
Oh, I sold with... Well, no, I didn't buy through Peter.
Oh, okay.
The guy that I used, I heard that's how he
gotcha.
He did his business.
Gotcha.
I used to work with Frank.
Gotcha.
He was the guy at the time, and
Gotcha.
But that's the way it was. And then when all the big companies come in and just took over, when Remax come in, that was like the beginning of an era, because they were franchise, and they were it became Century 21's biggest
Right.
competitor at the time.
Right.
Then LePage came in, and it just grew from there. There's so many people, but yeah, it was a whole different thing. We didn't have real estate flyers in the newspapers. You had the classified section of the newspaper where you would put in your little ad.
Right.
You have a picture of the house and then your little write-up.
Right.
So, that was the way you advertised your listing.
Just through the classified.
To the classified section of the Welland Tribune. That was it. No internet, nothing else. Put a sign out in the front yard.
Right. Sign is
maybe
big.
hand out flyers.
I still find, and I tell people that one of the most common ways a house gets sold is through the sign. Like a sign is still super important because I've dealt with a handful of people don't want to put a sign in front of their property.
It's a case of, well, sell my house, but don't show it.
Right.
Put a sign up, let people know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my first listing, I got my first listing through a flyer. Back then, nobody was doing flyers like they do today.
Right.
But I had dreamed up this. We didn't have the computer thing. Like we had to type up on a 8x12 or 4x8 piece of paper.
Right.
What you wanted to see. Put a black and white picture on there, like of yourself, and
right.
And I would walk around, and I remember I lived on Aqueduct Street at the time, and went around on that whole block just putting flyers in everybody's mailbox to try to get. So, a lady across the street called me, and I listed the house, and that was my first listing.
That's amazing.
I remember going into the office, and Bill says, "How the hell did you get that?" He said, "I've been trying to get that for the last 5 years." I said, "I don't know." I got lucky, I guess.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so that was the first listing.
That's
awesome. It was a whole different...
Through a hand-delivered by yourself flyer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then they used to advertise, back in the early days there, they used to advertise, they started to have the Tribune flyers, and they started to put them out. But I used to go back to the classified section, and if I had a listing, I would put in the classified ads, say, $550 a month could buy you 3-bedroom bungalow with a garage. For more info, call Don. And the phone would ring off the hook, because I would put that in the for rent column of the classified.
Smart.
So people that are looking, and rents were $600 and $700 a month, and I can buy for $550 a month.
Smart.
So how do you do that? So then I would pick it apart. Well, this is... I get a lot of business through that, and get a lot of first-time buyers.
I can imagine. You can buy for cheaper than renting.
Yeah, and they needed the down payment. Well, how much have you got? And can you, is there anybody in the family can help you with the rest? And do you have some income tax money coming back? And do you have any RSPs? And so we used to pick away on how we could put together this. Did you pay first and last month's rent?
Right.
You got an extra
right
month
down
there.
to the nitty
So
gritty.
we used to work out all the numbers, and then because bear in mind back then, you were buying for $60,000 or $70,000, so it wasn't like hundreds of thousands of dollars you had to come up with.
Yeah.
A few $1,000, still hard to do, but within reason.
Yeah, if you
So
scrape it together, you could make it work.
A lot of houses that way.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's something that was never done at the time. So then you get caught up and you get going at it. And
did you see that somewhere else, or how?
No,
you just put it
got
together.
Thinking one day, what can I do to let people know about this instead of the traditional way?
Right.
Think about something.
What was the traditional way then?
Put an ad in the for sale column of the newspaper.
Right.
Classified. So people that I'm thinking,
that was good.
There had
targeting.
to be people that wanted to buy, that never thought that they could buy, and would never go and look at a house that was for sale because they thought, I don't have a down payment. I could never buy it.
I can't make it work.
So this is a bit of a carrot to talk to somebody, just to prove to them, I get people today that are still in some of those houses.
Really?
Yep. And because of that situation, I have some that have been repeat customers for
That's
years.
amazing.
Like sold 10 or 12 homes over the last 25 years of relatives and friends and kids of those people.
That's amazing.
Because I was able to,
just by targeting the different spot to advertise. That's amazing.
Yeah, like it was, and to me, I just thought, well, they are going to be looking at some place to rent. Why not put something in there that would have them call you?
Donnie, you're smart.
Well, I just thought, I got lucky. I don't know what made me think of that at the time. But the thing is, I used to come into work and think about things. Like, that's the secret. You come into work every day. Like,
see,
it's not rocket science.
That's one of the things here. This is a perfect segue, I guess they would say. Is somebody starting in real estate today? Not myself, because I've already been around a little bit. But if somebody was starting today, what would be like maybe some advice that you would give them? Either the most important or anything.
Oh, the best thing to do, anybody starting in this business today, is be humble. Don't ever think that you know it all, because you don't.
Yeah, we never do.
And be honest. Be yourself. And try to sell your house. Or try to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And not going out there saying, okay, I'm going to sell myself today. Be yourself. Get out there with people. Do things. Do everything you can think of that it's got nothing to do with selling a house.
Right.
So that people will get to know you, get to know that you do sell houses, and then you become the first person's name that comes into their mind if they want to have a question about something.
Right.
It makes a big difference.
Right.
And right to this day, like if you're doing an open house, you're not there to sell that house. You're there to sell yourself.
Right.
So when people come in, you're talking about their family, their dog, their car that they just pulled up with, the government and how stupid they are, and all this stuff. You're not selling around saying, sign here. Unless they come to you and ask questions.
Right.
Then answer them.
See, and this is another thing I have to attribute back to you, that you gave me a lot of opportunities to do open houses for you. I know it was a win-win both ways. And I don't do open houses like I did when I started, but I learned a lot from the market by doing those open houses, just like you're saying.
I used to do them every Sunday. I found it was a good way to meet people.
Yes.
And I can honestly say that, there were a few houses that I did the open houses that I actually sold that house.
Right.
But I also, I would say I've met more people that I went on to do business with otherwise because of that open house.
Right.
It's just another way to meet people.
And learn what people are like. Because it was a great opportunity. We did you gave me a lot of open houses to do. It was nice.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I remember I picked up some clients, but like I was saying, when I came into the business, I didn't have office experience, how to file. And even though I knew a lot of people, talked to a lot of people, never with the mindset of being a realtor, right? Because now I'm wearing the realtor hat. And through those open houses, it gave me live experiences dealing with people and just understanding what buyers are looking for. Yeah. And you're right, when they talk about the government or local events or just understanding people, and now being the person that's a realtor, understanding, yes, that house, and then the houses around, and then the market, and what they expect from us. Those experiences invaluable.
Oh yeah, I find so. I mean, really, like you can come out thinking you've done something that day.
Right.
There's nothing more rewarding that a month up the road you get a phone call and it's somebody that says, "I don't know if you remember me, but we met you at an open house and
right.
And my sister's thinking about selling her house and wanted to know if you would come down and
right.
There you go.
Right.
Bingo.
For a while, one of my best clients was one that I met at the open house on Welland that you guys had, the one with the elevator.
Oh, yes.
And I had that exact, almost verbatim, like you made the call.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember who they were at first.
No, you don't. You meet so many people.
Yeah.
How do you know?
And then, it led me to listing their house that I ended up, fortunately, double ending, which was nice. They bought a place which at the time was the most expensive house I sold for a while in Fawn Hill, and then later led to them selling. And then they ended up moving out of our area, so I didn't sell to them. But for a while, they were my best clients.
Yep.
All from that open house. And when they made the call, I had no idea who they were. I've seen hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's true. But one of the things, though, like on a negative side, on the flip side, with the open house thing, and the way that I deal with it is that you'll get, you're going on a listing appointment, and, you're talking about what you're going to do to market the house and so on. And you can offer, after a few weeks, if we don't get anything, then I'll hook up and I'll do an open house maybe every second Sunday for you till we get it sold. And so you'll hear, well, the last realtor that was in here said that open houses don't sell houses. It's just a way for you to sell yourself. So he doesn't do open houses. And so your comeback was, well, whoa, just a minute. He doesn't do open houses because he doesn't want to do open houses. He doesn't want to sit here on a Sunday afternoon and do his job. He'd rather be on a golf course, whoever he is. Right? What I'm telling you is an open house gives you an opportunity to have people come in and see your house that otherwise don't want to call a real estate person. They feel that they don't want to have the pressure of somebody trying to sell them a house. So this gives your house a chance to present itself, to show what it's got to people that are curious. And if those people come in and they're not interested, they may know of somebody else that might be, that they'll tell. So my experience with open houses is it's great for both. And, it's an opportunity. If you find that, the regular advertising is not working, give it a try. And I have to tell you that if open houses don't work, why do these contractors that have these subdivisions that they spend millions developing bother to have an open house every Sunday and Saturday?
Sometimes all week,
Sometimes, why on earth would they pay people to do something if it's not effective? Come on. And then they start and think, oh, well, we never thought of that. Go back to the agent that doesn't want to do one because he wants to be on a golf course on Sunday. So, that's the way to counteract it, I thought. And it was fine. Then it would be, well, you're telling us stuff we never thought of, Because it does work both ways, right? But that was kind of interesting because once again, you get the public that's being educated by people that are looking at it their way. And, lots of times I don't want to do an open house. I don't feel like doing it. But then if it's a way, if you're not getting action on the house and you want people to see it,
you got to try something.
The next step that you try.
That's a fun thing that I like about real estate too is lots of challenges, lots of times, and you always got to find ways, whether it be an open house or a classified ad or me trying these restaurant food things.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, Joe. I honestly, God, I have a list of the burgers that are like 7.5 plus. Even if I got one day, I'm going to drive all the way to Dunville and try that.
I'll
tell him Joe sent me.
I love it.
I'm going to bring one of your cards and say, look, this is the reason I'm here. I think that's great stuff. I really do.
Yeah, having fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it really is. And people get to know you and see you.
Yeah, and when, as you're saying, you wanting people to get to know you, I almost feel like these things, because we've talked about these things before, you've taught me a lot, has helped me transition into doing things like this. Because I know when I started doing the Must See Mondays, a lot of people said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Yeah. This isn't real estate. Yeah. You look like a fool.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
There's people out there that were saying things like this, or I would hear. But I'll tell you, it wasn't easy for me to get started on video or any of this stuff. But I've learned a lot from you, and these are things that we've talked about now. Is getting people to know who I am, who you are. How do you do it? How is it done? And that was one of the things that helped me get to do that, because just getting in front of the camera and doing anything, it just giving people the perspective of who I am, is helping, because not everybody is going to watch and enjoy it, but the ones that do, it's just another means to an end, right?
And once again, it's selling yourself. it's got nothing to do with real estate, but then it does,
Right.
because you've got your jacket on, and and then if it's on Facebook and you see the one and you stroll down, all of a sudden you'll see you with a sold sign on a house,
Right.
and so there's a connection,
Yeah.
and it's word of mouth. The people that you're meeting, the different restaurants that you're at, it's one of the neat things that I saw a while ago that I thought was kind of neat. I never really went to do it, but it was in a restaurant in, I think it was the Blue Star.
Mm-hmm. In Welland?
Yeah, and was there for breakfast, and the mug that they served me my coffee on had a real estate guy's name on it.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's interesting. That's good
And
placement.
picture. Yes, and I was thinking about talking to you about if you do any of those must-see Monday things again, maybe you supply some of your
Right.
mugs for them to put out for breakfast, and
Right.
say if the guy, if you use these, you can tell the guy to keep the mug.
Right.
It's got your name, your email address, maybe your picture on it.
That's a good idea.
Must-see Mondays, or a must-see Monday event or something.
Right.
Compliments of Joe, and say you're giving them free advertising.
that.
They can supply them with some mugs.
I like that. That's pretty
Let's
cool.
do it.
I love it. I
do
love
that.
it. I love it.
Okay, see?
Yes.
But again, that's something, and say they can take it home.
Yes. That's great. That's great placement.
All right, eh? So we got something else going now.
Now I'm starting to think of all the places I did and how many mugs that would be.
Well, you start from the future. Like start
right.
Or repeat. When you go back, like that Black Sheep Lounge, they do a lot of coffee stuff there,
Right.
specialties. I mean, I'm sure if you went in there with a box and said, look at,
Yeah.
next few customers, and then any of the places.
Yeah.
I mean, you buy the Century 21 mugs to hand out. I mean, you hand them out anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So put them there.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I do want to see what you think of this now that we're talking about this, because I wanted to hear more from you, but I'm doing the burger reviews.
Yeah.
The biggest difference for me, even though there's differences from the Must See Mondays to the burger reviews, is that it's an honest opinion of the burger.
Yeah.
And what had me frightened was having a bad burger.
Yeah, I know.
Frightened, because the Must See Mondays is all about promoting and helping local businesses, small
Right.
businesses, as we are.
Right.
Now, what had me worried about this was I don't want to hurt a business.
No.
But one of the aspects of doing the burger reviews is getting people to know me and the honest me.
Yeah.
Because Must See Mondays, even though I might be honest, it's prepared. The
Yes.
meals, they're bringing me out their best dishes.
The best presentation.
They know it's for me. They know it's going on camera.
Yeah.
So I'm going in confidently knowing I'm getting something good.
Right.
Now with doing these, one of the things, like I said, is getting to people to see, because I was getting a lot of feedback from people saying, do you ever have something not good? And then starting to call me out, that I was getting a little bit of a perception of being a bullshitter. And I didn't want that.
No.
And not that I've stopped Must See Monday forever, but
No.
so this part of it is showing the honest side.
Yeah, it's a different perspective.
Yeah, but I have given bad reviews.
Yes,
Now,
yeah.
and that still bothers me, because I don't want to hurt a business.
No, I think, when you're going into a lot of these businesses that you go in with the burger thing, are good restaurants, and in many ways are famous for certain things.
Right.
Like you might have a great pizza place or a great
Right.
taco place or whatever.
Right.
And all of a sudden we're doing a burger. So one way to get around that is you amplify the fact that this is like the best taco place in town, and
Right.
come here, and now this is a burger. This is not what they specialize in, but
Right.
we're doing a burger review.
Yeah.
And then that kind of separates it from the fact that you've boosted
Yeah.
the business by talking about the things that they're most popular for.
Right.
So you can offset that way, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
But now have you over with these burger reviews, have you kept track of all the different burger reviews and all the different ratings?
Yes.
Do you have that summarized somewhere?
I do. That's a good question.
Because somewheres along the line, you're going to maybe have to come up and say, okay, this is in this particular group.
Yeah.
This is in this particular group.
Yeah.
And
it's funny. It's really funny you asked that, because I think it was yesterday, because we've had a few people ask that, and I actually put it somewhere on one of my websites, but it's not, this is where all the reviews are. I put it there so if people find it, it's there.
Well, the thing is, Joe, eventually the burger review thing will come to an end.
Right.
So if it's not too far away, then that's the time to come up with the summary.
Right.
And then, be able to say, look at all of, and then even with something on Facebook that says all of these places were great, thanks for participating. All the burgers were it attaches the review, and
right.
You haven't had anything that's been really a down and out. You had one that they put cheese on it, you weren't going to rate it, but that's what are you going to do? Yeah. That won't even show up on a review because there's no number attached. But yeah, then that would be maybe to come up with a summary and say this is our findings.
Yeah.
And then go back to your must-see Mondays.
Yeah. I have a few places that I want to go back and
and then pick up on them some that you might want to revisit.
Yeah.
From before. Yeah. And then maybe think about the cup thing.
I like that idea.
The mug thing, to be able to.
I've been trying to think too, and I like that idea because I've been to a lot of restaurants and businesses, and what I've done is I have left them a sticker to put on their door or something, but I've thought of trying to build that framework a little bit better, and mugs is a good idea. And I don't know, something else, because I've built up a lot of relationships with a lot of places. Yeah,
and you can promote like on the mug, like a picture. You can even say must be Mondays on one side of the mug, the other side Joe, your email, Century 21. Yeah, and just say you guys are serving breakfast. If you serve it in this, and then tell them they can keep the compliments of Joe. Yeah,
I like it.
And then that'll, that takes that one thing that you've shown for that week, and it expands it into that mug could be sitting on somebody's counter 3 months from now, and somebody might call you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like that. It carries on from that, right? You gotta be thinking
you still got good angles going.
No, I think what you're doing is really good. I really do. I like the, you're a hardworking guy. I see it every day when I go in, because you're there all the time, and you're at work, and you're visible, and like I said, this is a hard business.
It really is.
It's something that you got to keep on top of and have a passion for. Yeah, and it's a responsible thing, because it's big money involved, and people depend on you.
Big
reputation, and you're dealing with. A lot of folks in this business that are, well, all of them are your competitors. So there's a lot to be, to know about, to keep on top of, and a lot to be thankful for. So when you end up at the end of the day getting a deal put together, it's not because it's nothing that you did. You've done all this stuff that suddenly led to that end result. Mm-hmm. And you just want to keep on plowing away and keep on doing. Just be yourself. Yes. And do what you're doing. Yeah. And it'll just happen. When you start getting complacent, and then depending on everybody else to do stuff for you, or depend on the system to do it for you, and not showing up at work, and then being depressed because nobody's calling you, then you're on the downside. Yeah. You don't need that. So only you can make it happen for you.
Make it happen.
No, it's true.
Now, this is funny. We when we started, we said we'd do this maybe about an hour or so.
How long has it been?
It's been a little over 2.
You got to be kidding.
See how good?
I got to get going.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Because there was...
Go ahead.
Okay, no. Yeah. I was going to ask a question.
Wow.
No,
time. Go ahead, ask the question.
But it's a live situation of a deal that I have to go to from here.
Right.
So maybe a 2-cent, because I'm in a situation that's like any deal. Got a few things. When do you have to leave now?
No. I'm okay. I'm okay, Joe.
We have a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll end on this.
Yeah. Okay.
Is you again giving me some advice because
that's hope for worse.
Well, I don't know because we know I already spoke to my client. I'm in a situation. I'll just go over it. So I've got a listing, and it's listed, and I'll paint the picture. It's a little bit low in the beginning, but I showed the property this week, and now have received an offer from an agent from the people I showed it to. Whatever there. But this agent hasn't seen the home. Now I'm going to go present the offer today. And it's a sale of property offer. For a property I haven't looked up yet. I'm going to look here, but from what the people have told me is not listed yet. And when they list, they're going to be listing with purple bricks. So the situation I'm in now is I have a listing. I have a realtor that I'm dealing with that hasn't seen the home yet, but has given me an offer.
Because you showed the people. On
yeah.
Okay.
And even though I asked them and all, but regardless, the situation we're in, and now that agent hasn't seen the home and won't be listing their house. And it will be purple bricks. So what I'm getting at is when I meet with my clients, we have a pretty attractive number on the table, but we have a lot of hurdles ahead of us.
What I would ask the other agent that's giving you the offer, they're going to be listing it with purple bricks. Are they going to be offering 2% plus HST on the MLS system through purple bricks?
Mm-hmm.
If the answer is yes, then you can go ahead and let them know that it will be on the MLS system, even though it's listed with a discount broker, and that, and also you'll want to know verbally what price tag they're going to put on it.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he's going to know.
No. Well, then if he can he find out?
Right.
Can he call these people and find out? They would know.
Right.
And then so that you just say you're going to need this if you want him to get your offer accepted. You're going to need this information from him in order to help him get his offer accepted.
Right.
So if he doesn't know, find out.
Right.
So the two simple questions. What's it going to go on the market for? And are they going to be offering 2% plus HST?
Yeah, at least.
And then if the answer is good and it seems like a reasonable price for the neighborhood, then you can tell your sellers, look, it's going to be listed through purple bricks. It's a discount brokerage, but I'm told that when it goes on the MLS system, they're going to be offering the MLS people a proper incentive to bring buyers in, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also the pricing I'm understanding is in this neighborhood, which seems to be reasonable for the area.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you've opened the door to something reasonable. If they're not going to offer anything, then you tell them, look, this could be pie in the sky. Sell the house first and come back.
Right.
That's what I would do.
Right now, I've had clients in situations like this, a little bit different, but where the clients get concerned if they do put this offer together, because as we know, and I've had clients worried that it's going to take the wind out of the sales of the listing, even though it's a sale of property offer.
Yes. Well, you can point that out to them. Say this is a discount brokerage. And, this means that the person selling the house is going to be negotiating his own deal on the house as a rule. And, that's sometimes these people know what to do and sometimes they don't. But that could be a stumbling block. However, it is going on the MLS system and they are offering the incentive that is typically being offered out there. Mm-hmm. So it gives the rest of the MLS salespeople an opportunity and an incentive to bring buyers to that house.
And you're saying on the minimum 2%.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then,
not the 1 cent.
Plus, no, minimum 2% plus HST.
Yeah.
And if they're saying no, they're not going to do that, then I would suggest to my people, you can take this, but that could be pie in the sky.
Right.
It's based on a private sale.
Right.
And, sometimes it's going to affect what I can do is sign this back saying, go sell the house. When you come back with an offer.
Right. Right.
But
Sounds good.
But those are the 2 points. What's the price on it?
Yeah.
And what are you offering?
And also, when's the house going to get listed too? It's not even on the market.
Yeah. Well, then you can even put in this, if you're going to sign it back, you can put in a sign back conditional on being able to preview the listing by such and such a date.
Right.
Otherwise, the offer's null and void.
Right. Yeah.
So they can give them a week or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not waiting for months.
Good stuff. I think we both have things to do.
Yes, we do.
So we'll end on this with you giving me 2 cents. Donnie, I really appreciate you coming.
I appreciate doing this with you, buddy.
Thank you.
I'm looking at a future star. And wherever you're going to give out those mugs, I'll go and have breakfast at that place just to get a mug.
I love it.
Okay.
Well, and if you want a mug, I might have a mug here.
No. We want to get one of those special mugs.
Sounds good.
Okay, guy.
So, and I really, really appreciate you coming to do this. You said you wouldn't have done it for anybody else. I don't know if you're just saying that.
No, I was saying that. That's the truth, man.
And even though I'm hoping to be the first of many of doing these.
Right.
I'd love if we could do it again. You don't need to commit now or not, but every time we get together, I learn things and it helps me moving forward. So
it gives me a pleasure to do that, to see your progress.
Yeah.
Next time, maybe you'll be the vice president of our company. Just keep going in that direction.
I'm always moving forward.
Good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.